And welcome to the Fantaussiefootball podcast. The podcast that will entertain you with our Australian charm and put you on the path to winning your fantasy title. I'm your host, Ben, joined, as always, by my two co-hosts, Keaney and Hod. How are we all travelling tonight?
Very good, Ben. Great to be back on the pod. I did enjoy your two voices last week without me, but it's great to be back. And, mate, it's great to see the man himself, Harvey Specter, in the room. Hod, how are you?
Gentlemen, very good. How can we not be? It is football season. We are on the launch night tomorrow. Well, depending where we are in the world, but we are very excited to bring you this episode 10. That's how long this preseason has been for us, but it's been a lot longer for the gentlemen who are going to strap on the cleats tomorrow and fight it out for what we love to watch.
I don't know. We're coming up to, after tonight's episode, about over 10 hours worth of content. That's a fair chunk. Surely they haven't done as much preseason work, have they, Hod? Would have thought so.
For some haven't. Some players haven't, with a few asterisks on the name, but excited to be here, boys. Bring it on.
Well, you mentioned episode 10 coming up on the show today. We've got our power rankings, as always. We'll get into that in a second. We've got our season predictions and our week one preview because, as you pointed out, Hod, it is Thursday night here in Australia, and it's a Friday, 10 a.m., beautiful time for a week one game for us to get excited. And we've even got Saturday football here in Australia. That's just a rarity. All you Americans, you don't realise how good you've got it. How good is it when you're over in America and the 1 p.m. Sunday games roll around? You can actually set your fantasy lineup in peace and not have to worry about stupid time zones.
It is a luxury, mate. And I suppose we're going to get into the swing of things. 3 a.m. start this Monday for any Aussies that are keen enough to get up, and I certainly will be. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, there'll be a few sickos that will be setting the 2:55 a.m. alarm.
Well, we've actually got a few in our fantasy circles that have newborns, so they might actually be welcoming the NFL and have something to watch as they're attempting to father their children.
Red zone babies, I call them.
Red zone babies. Although big controversy with Red Zone now. They're going to have ads in it. That's disappointing stuff. But speaking of plugs, let's plug our socials. We've got the fantaussiefootball@gmail.com. Reach out for any questions, feedback, or anything in between. You can see us on our Instagram page, fantaussiefootball. Spot us on YouTube, fantaussiefootball as well. Spotify, Apple Podcast, all of those things. Give a subscribe, give a comment, feedback, any of the like would be much appreciated. And I might have to, if you can't tell, my deep tones tonight. It's very Richard Mercer-esque love song dedications, but haven't had a voice for pretty much the whole of this week, and I've been putting off the podcast just to hope that it might hang in there. So you'll probably see me on the video if you do watch this on YouTube. I might just tap out on several occasions.
We will jump in and save your day, but I actually don't mind this huskiness to your look that you've got going with the hair. And how good's YouTube having this on show for everyone? Kind of suits you. What do you think, Keaney?
No, I like it. Mate. No, I think you just need to go easy on him. I know you love pointing out when someone slips up or if maybe their voice cracks for the first time. So just go easy on our man Ben tonight, all right?
Yeah, can't promise.
Yeah, hopefully, and apologies in advance if I don't mute in time for a coughing fit too. So I'll just forearmed is forewarned, as they say. But let's get into it with our power rankings. That's the power of love. Now, power rankings this week, it's going to be a little bit themed because in the build up to the start of the NFL season, there might be a few celebratory drinks being had either in Australia or America or wherever it is that you might be watching the great game. So we thought, why not power rank the best end of night / hangover foods or any sort of go-to remedy that people might have. So it could be you've had a big night and you might not remember ordering an Uber Eats or something of the like, or it could be that the next day you just need a bit of a hangover cure. So I'll kick it off with my number 3 here, and that is a Boost juice. So I know, just a little bit, but I'm going to paint the picture for you. It's the
Too
day after.
heavy. Too
You're
heavy.
feeling very miserable. You've had way too many bevos, and you're not really feeling like you can stomach any food. So it's got to be a bit of a liquid diet. You need to rehydrate. What a better way to do it than a berry bang or banana buzz, Katie?
Outrageous flavors. It just are they milky? What are we doing here? Are they
The
more berry
banana buzz
based?
is a bit more
Yeah.
milky, but the berry bang that's more on the juicy side.
How would that sit in your guts, Hod? The old banana buzz.
Oh, I don't mind it. I don't know that it's a top three ranking. Um, but I'll get to mine because I'm looking at your lists and I'm just not about it. But when have you ever been about mine? So strap in for this. Number three, I've gone the ultimate comfort food when I'm there in the fetal position. I'm feeling sorry for myself the next day. I'm not much of an eater on the night. I usually save myself for the next day. So I've got Thai, lovely cuisine,
Mm.
and in particular, I will always make sure it's a curry with your steamed rice and your roti because it just soaks it all up and it's kind of like pasta. I look at it like that comfort food. It's just delicious when I'm not feeling the best. Why are you laughing, Keaney?
I just, if you didn't know this was an Australian podcast, the old Roddy bread. Geez, there was an Aussie slang to that pronunciation for rotty, but I liked it.
I'll see if you can pronounce your third.
Righto. Righto, I'll do my I'll do my third. But before I do, just a I know we don't have mailbag, but a quick on-air mailbag from old Keaney here about last week. Game of Thrones, extremely stiff to miss quality television series, I think. One of the great series of all time. But anyway,
It was in my 17 honourable mentions that I had to cull, mate.
well, fair enough. And I think, mate, you actually introduced this subject or this power ranking very well, and that is around end of the night. But I just take myself back to when we were a bit younger. How many options do the kids have these days when they get
Mm.
home? Uber Eats, all this other. We didn't have that. We just went straight to Macca's, and if we had to do it via a taxi, I used to love that when the taxi driver took us through the drive-through and he ordered something himself. Nothing better. So Macca's is my number three, particularly at the end of a night.
What's your order though? You can't just go the Golden Arches without an order.
Just stock standard, mate. A DQP. Get the protein in, get the grease in, get the cheese in. Double quarter pounder, no pickle, no onion.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Well, my number two's not very original compared to your number three, Keeney, because I've also gone the Mickey
Yep.
D's as my choice because it serves you on two options. You can have it the night of at the very end, or you can grab the breakfast the following day with a coffee and a hash brown. Fantastic. But you did remind me. You said you didn't have many options and going through drive-through on the way home from a big night. You reminded me of a story where we'd all been out and we were going back to mine and we went in different taxis because those were the days. And one of our friends had had too big of a night and he got kicked out of the joint and we were all looking after him. All right, we better get home. I said, well, we're going back to mine. I'll take him in the first taxi. Keeney's like, yep, nah, good call. And he went with a few others. Well, our mate came good in the taxi and then went, oh, I'm feeling all right. Should we get Macca's? And we went, yeah, let's do it. So we go through drive-through. Keeney and all the others go straight to mine, are waiting for us, going, where the hell are they? They left first. And then we roll in with 3 bags of Macca's going, oh, yeah, Matt. I'll reveal the name, Matty Mac. He was doing too well. So
Uh,
he recovered and you guys had to wait for us because we went the drive-through. So Macca's number 2. Absolutely. Agree with all the things you said, Keeney.
and you've had a real good night, Hod, when just on the bedside table there's a half-eaten quarter pounder
Oh,
that didn't make it through.
you two are sick individuals. My number two is one of my favorite foods at any time of the day. It doesn't matter what condition I'm in, but it's a banh mi. It's a Vietnamese roll, and in particular, it doesn't actually matter. Crispy pork, grilled chicken, does not matter at all. Make sure it has the chili in there. Really just knocks your socks off, gets the hangover clear. But it has to be. It's probably one of the only times that I'll ever get a can of Coke. So it has to be with that, and it goes down well, complements each other very nicely. But that's my number two.
No full strength Coke, no Ziz on the Coke. Need the sugar?
Yeah,
You got
Yeah.
to go
yeah,
the regular Coke for the hangover cure.
yeah,
Yeah.
Sugar and
definitely.
caffeine, absolutely.
Fair
Yeah, I'm
enough.
not too worried about the body,
Fair enough.
what's going in
Well,
it.
gee whiz. It's contrary to a lot of your previous power rankings. But my number two on one, you'll notice, my number three was more around at the end of the night. My next two are definitely more the hangover remedy, and that is, I know, Odd doesn't rate it, but I know you think I'm 68 years old when I say this, but pop a couple of Panadol, get an anti-inflam, knock down a Gatorade, and have some Vegemite on toast. It'll make you feel heaps better.
Oh, hang on. You've added the Vegemite. You had just bland toast earlier when I first heard it. To be fair, and then you've gone an anti-inflam.
Yep.
What's inflamed?
Off my head.
Everything. Liver.
Yeah. Whew. Very good. All right.
Oh, goodness. All right,
Welcome
my number
back.
one. Yeah. My number one is it's the following morning. You're feeling absolutely rubbish, and your missus might drag you over to Chadston or somewhere like that to try and get you being productive, and you go to have some breakfast. And the thing that just grabs your attention, and it's the only time ever that it grabs your attention on a menu, the big breakfast. It's got everything. It's got
It's a
everything you need, and regret at the very end.
it's a big meal.
It's
It's a
ridiculous.
huge meal.
But it's the only time where you're like, yeah, I'll have it this time and I won't feel bad afterwards. Never. Gets you every time. But it's my number one choice.
Does that tie into McDonald's? Like, wasn't there a big breakfast at McDonald's?
Yeah, there was.
That's what I thought you were going with.
No. I'm not the old school polystyrene big breakfast. No, you go to any cafe, order the big breakfast.
Yep.
It usually comes with some roasted tomatoes, sausage, bit of
Hash
sourdough,
brown.
Some
brown.
how quickly do you launch into the mushrooms in the big
Yeah.
breakfast?
You got to get onto them early. You don't want cold mushrooms. Otherwise, it might be coming back up.
I love how you mentioned that you get dragged over to Chadston to be productive. You have the luxury of living in the Chadston car park. It's not really that productive that you're walking all of 200 meters.
Gets dragged over. Gee whiz.
I didn't say we walk. I drive.
Oh, no way. Oh, all right. Let's sharpen up here. My number one, it's not the takeaway that we're accustomed to hearing with these two gentlemen, but I prefer like a burger joint. Just strictly does burgers. Think of your Shake Shacks, your what's the one that I've got here? Mad
Mad
Patties.
patties.
Mad
Yes.
Patties is a local favorite.
Real good.
But that's what I'm going for. It's a greasy double burger.
Mm.
Usually just the standard beef. I don't get too fancy with them. But then, boys, you get the loaded chips. So, and I don't eat chips very often, but I do when I'm lashing out here. And you get them loaded with gravy and cheese.
Ooh,
And then
poutine.
you wash it all down with a rockaby. No, just a shake, a thick shake. I don't really have a favorite flavor on those days. I could literally have any, but it's that combo of the burger, the loaded chips, and the shake. That is my number one.
Just saying that as your number one. Have you ever been to a place called Royal Stacks? It's
Oh,
very
yeah.
Shake Shack-esque.
That's a chatty, isn't it?
I don't think it is anymore.
Used to. Yeah,
Betty-
that
Used to be. But
that's
yeah,
exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Betty's Burgers.
Cheesy fries. Yeah, Betty's Burgers, not bad.
Yep.
Don't know if you guys didn't have an honorable mention, but I will throw one in there. Toast It. This is a lovely franchise. It's a very different toast to the one you're whipping up, Keaney.
Got a
But
little bit more on it.
these are loaded toasties. They are heavy, and I've actually eaten two of them before in one sitting, and that was, you know what I'm talking about, Ben. You've had them.
It's ridiculous.
It's a
For
lot
anyone
of
who has
food.
had them.
Yeah. So there we go, boys.
Nice.
Well, it all sounds a bit heavy, to be honest. And my number one speaks to that. I'm not big on the big meals, the big burgers, the big breakfast after. If I'm feeling a bit queasy, not a huge fan of stuff in my face. So my number one's just coffee to get me going again. And if it helps relieve a few of my issues, then it does that naturally. It's beautiful. So just a coffee I'm happy with, and I'll just sit on the couch and just try and get through my afternoon.
Sit on the couch, was it, after
Yeah.
your coffee?
Yeah.
Does it send you sitting somewhere else?
Well, maybe.
Help you relieve you of a few of your issues?
Coffee, caffeine, get it in me.
Get everything moving. Very nice. Well, in a nice twist of fate there, Hod, that always mocking us, Keaney, for having lots of honourable mentions. We didn't go with any, and he went with them. So how the tables have turned. Well played. Hopefully there will be many other opinions of the people listening, possibly shouting at the radio or the clouds. For any of the older listeners out there who didn't agree with what we're saying.
Yeah, Hod was like that earlier. Please
write in, leave a comment on this YouTube video, leave a comment on our podcast, wherever you're listening, or even send us an email, fantaussiefootball@gmail.com. Look forward to hearing what all of your hangover remedy cures are. But, boys, enough of the periphery chit-chat. Let's get into what people are listening in for, and that is the debut of week 1. It's been a long preseason, 9 episodes leading up to this, our 10th of the preseason to launch us in for our 2025/26 season. And we'll sort of start it off with some season predictions here, as I mentioned at the top of the show. How do you reckon we do this? Do you think we just go one category in each share, or do we run through all of them? One person at a time. Do you think we go the categories?
No, I think there's a few themes playing out here. So it might be worth going.
Yeah. Okay.
Everyone do their 4 categories that we will let you in on.
Fair shout. So the 4 things that we're predicting here, and if you want to join us, you can put some Fantasy dollars on any of these selections. Gamble responsibly. But they are the Super Bowl matchup and the Super Bowl winner. We've gone with a prediction of the MVP, the Offensive Player of the Year. And sorry, any defensively minded people, but we're playing fantasy, so we just want to focus on the people that we're going to invest our research into. And the 2026 number 1 player for next year. So we thought to bring it back, that last one is to bring it back a little bit of fantasy related. Who's going to have such a good season that they're going to rocket their way up to be what Jamar Chase was for this entire offseason? That was the consensus number 1. So we'll start off with me and my Super Bowl matchup. I've gone with AFC. Obviously, there's some heavy hitters over there. The Ravens to make it from the AFC, and they're going to come up against the Detroit Lions of the NFC here. And I know if you listened on our show a few weeks back when we did the NFC North, we sort of weren't too sold on the Lions, and there was a little bit of conjecture over their wins line there, but the odds would suggest that they are, I think, second favourite in the NFC to win the Super Bowl. They've lost their offensive and defensive coordinator, but I think the thing I touched on a few weeks back is they're getting all their defensive players back. They went on a ridiculous run last year with next to no defensive players. They were grabbing blokes off the street. Hutchinson was injured for majority of the season. This guy's going to be an absolute freak. I like what Dan Campbell brings, and I think even though the coordinators have left, Dan Campbell is the glue that holds that team together, and I reckon gets them to the Super Bowl with the Ravens winning.
In saying all that,
I'll give it to Lamar to get over that hurdle that he is missing in his career.
Our man Ben sounds a bit like Dan Campbell after a big rev-up speech at the minute. He's just battling his way through it.
Several kneecaps before I gave that speech.
You got through it well, mate. Well done.
Very true. Well, in the theme there, I did say the Ravens will win it. And it's the last thing that Lamar really needs on his resume to be that first ballot Hall of Famer, I believe, and that is winning another MVP in this season. I think he'll get it done. He's shown that he's not just on the legs. I actually think he rushes more this year. Just goes back to a little bit of old school. He's got a lot of options up his sleeve. Derrick Henry is going to command a lot of presence of the linebackers in opposition teams, so he's got to be able to open it up when he needs to and run when he needs to as well to create plays on his legs. Offensive Player of the Year. I'll keep it themed. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Ooh,
This
heavy, heavy.
guy, I believe, could be the number one wide receiver in fantasy by the end of this season. I think he's severely underrated in terms of a talent. He obviously gets picked fairly high, but this guy is oozing talent, and I don't think he's a very sexy pick because he's more of a possession receiver, gets the job done. He's a super reliable target for Goff, and I think that, hopefully Jameson Williams stretching the field a bit more means that this guy can just work his magic in the slot. And I believe he will have the Offensive Player of the Year season and potentially be the number one wide receiver. And my number one pick, or the ADP number one for next year, I'm going to go Jahmyr Gibbs. That offense is going to shine. Jahmyr Gibbs is crazy talented, and I think without Ben Johnson trying to really persist with that two-headed backfield, they're just going to feed the hot hand a little bit more than what they've done in the past, and Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be the beneficiary of that, and this guy will see crazy amount of production.
Very good. I think you'll hear a similar theme for a different team in my selections here, but we did structure this, Ben, so you can rest the throat for a few minutes whilst we uh, bless our voices on the audience for the audience here. But I've got the Bengals, the Bengali, beating who I think is the best team in the NFL in the Philadelphia Eagles. And the theme here, before I get to the players, I think with the Bengals, we have talked about it a little bit, but they get off to slow starts. And not only do they do that, they had a bit of misfortune last year with losing a fair few close games. So I think we typically see in NFL season to season a correction in a lot of areas. I think this one might be one of those. And I also think they have an agenda here to not start slow this season because they've played their starters through every preseason game more than most. So I think that will get them off to a good start this year. My MVP is Joe Burrow. I think doing what he did last year, if the Bengals had have won your 12 to 13 games like the others, I think he would have been well in the conversation. He already was. But I think if they get the season wins up, then Joe Burrow will keep doing what he's doing. He's a fantastic player, and he could definitely win the MVP. My offensive player of the year, here's the theme again. It's Jamar Chase. He's coming off the Triple Crown, which is an incredible achievement. I don't think he has to do that again because I think if the Bengals do what I think they'll do and they'll be on the national stage a bit more spotlight, he just has to do it a really, really good season. And I think he will take that Offensive Player of the Year award. And my last one here, boys, is the other ones might be a bit subjective, not a whole lot of data, but this one, I think Bijan Robinson is a heck of a player, talented player, has been from day one. But I just think he's one of those players that is hyped more than what he actually delivers. And I want to go into it a little bit. So 2 years in the league, in 2023, he had 272 touches, 1,400 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs had 234 touches. He missed 2 or 3 games in this season. 1,261 yards, but 11 touchdowns, three more. And then in 2024, Bijan's bumped it up. 365 touches for almost 1,900 yards and 15 touchdowns. Hell of a season. Jahmyr Gibbs, 300 touches, 1,929 yards, 20 touchdowns. So again, he's beaten him. And then Saquon Barkley, 378 touches for 2,283 yards and 15 touchdowns. He was the Offensive Player of the Year and has just been voted number one, top 100 players. So my point being, Gibbs and Barkley, I think, are well in their right to be the number one player. This voted ahead of Bijan, yet he continues to be ADP above these players. So my point being, he already gets hyped up, and I think he is actually going to come out and do a similar to what he did last year, which was amazing. And I think that will elevate him up to be the number one drafted player over Jamar Chase next year.
Very good, Hod. I like where you're going with it. Interestingly enough, we didn't talk about this. We have 6 different Super Bowl teams amongst the three of us. Um, and I have it's a little trendy, which I don't love, but I've got the Green Bay Packers winning the Super Bowl up against the Denver Broncos, who I think I've talked about previous podcasts. I think they are a live underdog to win their division for sure, and have quite a few good pieces on both sides of the ball to be a real contender this year. I think, yeah, they're right in the mix. Look, it's a bit of a long shot, but I think those two could be thereabouts. My MVP, like I think you've both stated it pretty well. It's basically a player that has 13 wins and is the QB. That's what it boils down to, really. So I'm picking Green Bay to win it. So it's typically a pretty correlated award, this one. So I'm going with Jordan Love here as a bit of a roughie. I think the Packers can win 13 games and he can take home the MVP. The offensive player of the year, I like Drake London here. Now, what have you? So we've had three receivers. Interestingly enough, I think over the last, I've got some stats on this. Over the last 25 years or so, there's only been three receivers to win this award. It's mainly been running backs, but of the three receivers that did win it, they did lead the league in receiving yards. So I think all three of our options here for Offensive Player of the Year could potentially do that. I look at Drake London. He had 150 targets last year, and you look at the last 3 weeks he had with Penix, and you're taking a bit of a leap of faith here with Michael Penix this year. But he had 37 targets in the last 3 weeks. So if we just multiply that by 17, he's going to have 210 targets, boys. So he'll just win Offensive Player of the Year. That's my theory. Is that good, Ben?
That is some extrapolation going on there.
I love a 3-game sample extrapolation out to 17, but you get my point. I think Penix could, if Penix is a little bit better than what the corpse of Kirk Cousins was last year, and he does target Drake London a fair bit, and this is a pretty explosive offense. They play 12 games in a dome. I think he could lead the league in receiving, and he probably just needs to catch 10 touchdowns, and he's right in the frame. So he's my little dark horse Offensive Player of the Year, and my number one ADP for next year. A little bit in the theme of what you guys have touched on, but I'm going for the rookie running back Ashton Genty next year into his second year. Look, it would have to be an exceptional rookie year to jump into the number one ADP, but the profile suggests he could. He's been super hyped up out of college. He's been one of the best profiles or best running back profiles we've seen come out of college. If he shows something close to that in his first year, he will be definitely in the top 3 to 4. Could be number one.
There you have it.
Very nice. And you touched on a theme there. We all had different Super Bowl winners and just Super Bowl contenders. All went QBs for MVP. All went wide receivers for Offensive Player of the Year, and all went running backs for the number one.
There you go.
So it's fair to say that probably if Ashton Genty wins Offensive Player of the Year, he goes number one next year. Maybe that might have been a more correlated thing, but or vice versa for any of our picks. But I like that stat. What did you say? Only 3 in the last 25 years have been wide receivers. It's pretty fascinating. Jefferson's got to be one of them, and Chase.
Well, I don't think Chase got it like Barkley got it last year. So I think there's been something like 9 quarterbacks, 13 running backs, and 3 receivers.
Wowee. Fascinating stat there. But we will move to the week 1 storylines now. So we thought plenty of amazing games coming up this week in week 1. Some juicy matchups. We start tomorrow with division rivalry, the Super Bowl champion Eagles against the Cowboys. You got many other divisional games. You got Super Bowl contenders on the AFC side, the Ravens taking on the Bills. So there's plenty of stuff to sink our teeth into. Next week we will we'll do a big recap of what we saw in week 1. So we thought just to set us up for week 1 here, we'll just go with some storylines. What are the things that we're going to be looking keenly for this week? What will we be taking away from what we see? Will it excite us? Will we jump the guns and overreact to what we see? So my number 1 storyline, my narrative that I'm going to be looking for is CMC. I'm going to be looking very closely at how he starts week 1. And that's not because I have him in Dynasty or anything like that. It's absolutely because I've got him in Dynasty. But it's because this guy can be so ridiculously good, and he's also had his seasons where he's missed just about every game, bar, 3 or 4. So just to recap, last year didn't start until week 10. Pretty disappointing. Had the calf injury that turned into the tendonitis of the Achilles, came back for a month and then did his Achilles. So pretty disappointing. Was it officially his Achilles in the end, or did they call it a calf?
That was just a soft tissue. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of conjecture over what this guy will be in 2025. But I'll remind you, in 2023, first round of the season, he just ripped out a 24.4. Nice. 22 attempts, 152 rushing yards, and a touchdown. So he didn't even do it in the air. He just did all that on the ground. They haven't got many receivers. Juwan Jennings just signed his contract. Has had an injury-riddled off-season. Pearsall's coming on. Ayuk's still on the pup list. So in terms of a passing offense, Kittle's kind of the guy. Pearsall will feature. I think if this guy's healthy, and all reports are that he's healthy, I would predict a 152-yard potential week 1 opener for CMC.
Well, there you have it. Well, I'm looking at a little betting page here, and you predict 150 plus. I think the line's at 75 for rushing yards for Christian McCaffrey or thereabouts, and he has done that. You talk about previous form and just the capability of the man. 6 out of 6 games against the Seahawks since he joined the Niners, he has gone over 75 rushing yards. So there are players that just like playing certain teams, but I don't care what spin you put on this, Ben. This is, if you have seen our socials recently, you would have seen the lovely CMC just sitting there on Ben's picks on the line. He's 3 players that he's riding with all year, and he loves this man. He has him in all his teams, and he has. What did you bet? What did you pay for him one year in auction? It was like $100 out of 100 or something. It was ridiculous.
Okay. Didn't go the full budget on him. I think I paid about $50 for him. I think I bought him 3 years in a row, which was a little bit of, what is it, like, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice. Well, you won't fool me.
Fool me
again.
3 times. Ben has a man crush on CMC.
Yeah, no, he got me every time, and then I finally gave up on him, and he was back that one season.
I think you hit the nail on the head, though, in terms of, this is a big story for fantasy, but also for the Niners in general. But if he is to stay healthy, you're right. Like, I think I don't have any issues with how productive he's going to be. I think everything's going to funnel through him. There's no Ayuk. There's no Deebo Samuel. Juwan Jennings has had a bit of a injury thing through the preseason. Like, it's going to funnel through Kittle and McCaffrey if they're going to get this offense going. So they will use him just like they have 2 years ago. So I think if he stays healthy, absolutely, and that's why he was always an intriguing option at the back end of the first round this year in a snake draft.
And don't forget, like, I don't like strength of schedule too much as a measure, because things change an awful lot in the off season. They have got what's considered the number 1 strength of schedule for this season because of how much they got riddled with injuries and luck didn't go their way last year. So they've got the easiest schedule for the NFC West. They've got that 4th place schedule.
Yep.
And they went from the 28th strength of schedule last year to the 1st. So that's a fair jump from that last year, which was already going to be difficult with injuries and all the things that went wrong. I think that a bit of luck will go their way this year.
This is why you jump on to our socials and listen in here, because we do have opinion diversity, and you keep mentioning the Niners, and I'm yet to hear about Ricky Pearsall, and he is one of my players on the line this year. I think you're neglecting the young man a little bit there, but I like the pick. It would be great to see CMC back with the best, and just flying the flag for the veteran running backs, which are elite at the moment and great for fantasy football. I'm going to launch into my first, and I'm going to take it to another position, the quarterback position. And I'm just really curious to know, and how I'm approaching this is, what narratives will we be talking about next week that we're really keen to see how it all unfolded. And I want to know how long the leash is for some of the quarterbacks in this league. It's an incredibly deep position this year for fantasy football, but there are still these quarterbacks that have the starting position for now, but I don't know how long. The A couple that come to mind quickly are Spencer Rattler for the Saints. I think he is on borrowed time until Tyler Shuck comes in. We have some narratives around this that or I do, but that I've brought to the guys' attention. But I think they've got a pretty tough schedule at the start, so you wouldn't want to throw the rookie out there in that and just let him learn, and then come in when it's a bit of a softer schedule. Joe Flacco, I think, is safe. There is a world in later in the year though where they are one of the bottom teams, and they just want to see what they have with these young quarterbacks. But the ones I'm really intrigued for two very different reasons is Russell Wilson for the Giants and Daniel Jones for the Colts, which we've talked about a fair bit, but for different reasons. Russell Wilson, I think it's more around the hype of Jackson Dart, and Giants fans, I think Ben included in that, they love what they've seen, as we all have. He's got that it factor. He's one that the team rallies around. You've seen the clips of Brian Dable comparing him to Danny Dimes last year, where they just fought, and he's just in awe of this young kid. So it's just going to be how long until they want to see what they have in him, depending on how the Giant season goes. And then Daniel Jones, funnily enough, we talk about one Giant to an ex-Giant, but this is actually more around how quickly could this implode for the Colts. There's a lot of pressure on Shane Steichen, and here's a fact for you, boys. We have not won a week one game in 12 seasons. We always
Wow.
come out and start slow. The Dolphins are not going to be very good this year. So the heat is going to be incredibly strong if Danny Dimes comes out, stinks it up. The Colts fans already are off him. They want A-Rich in there to see what they have. But if he stinks it up week one and they've gone with that quarterback decision, you watch the heat come for them. And I'm just really keen to see. It's all coach speak that he has the job for the whole season. We know that's not true. If the Heat will come and their jobs are on the line, they're going to have to make a change. So, for two very different reasons, I think the quarterback position is one to watch after week one.
Fascinating. Very good, very good observations. And interesting you mentioned Steichen and even Mike McDaniel facing each other in week one, both very high in the betting for first coach fired. So I think whatever way that goes, mate, it's going to be,
Hmm.
yeah, career on the line sort of stuff. So a big first game for those two teams. My first week one storyline is around the young wide receivers in this year's group and in this year's draft. I think in a bygone era, it was a little bit, it was a bit of a no-no to draft these first-year receivers, first-year tight ends. They often, don't produce for you fantasy-wise in the first year. But I think certainly the last 2 or 3 years, you look at obviously Jefferson and Chase, where and had enormous rookie years. But then Neighbours last year, Brian Thomas last year, Brock Bowers, Sam Laporta the last few years. Um, is there going to be another one this year, or is there going to be multiple? And I think this year, right from the get-go, there's some young wide receivers that get their opportunity early with some vets that are probably a little bit banged up. I'm talking about Ted McMillan. Now they don't have a lot behind him, but even the cokeheads are they're reeling. Jalen Coker out for 4 or 5 weeks, pretty flat. But he's no longer there. They've sort of brought in Thielen back, um, and then brought in Renfro back. So they've been trying to add a vet in there to replace him, but there's not much else out there for Tet. So Tet could get a lot of opportunity. I look at Matthew Golden and what's happening at Green Bay. He probably gets his opportunity early with Jaden Reed, with Christian Watson, with a few others. There's some uncertainty around that. Luther Burden, I don't know what Luther Burden's going to look like in a Ben Johnson offense, but he went out and got him. The old regime took Adunze and had DJ Moore. So I'm really interested in week one to see what his role is, and then someone like Ibuka, who's been the talk of camp throughout. Godwin's not going to play in week one; he gets his opportunity early as well. So I think these young receivers can shine early in week one. I want to see who's getting used, and I want to see how they can contribute to your fantasy team early on this year.
I think that's a great point. I'm loving the young receivers. I don't want to start another narrative, but Ted McMillan, you want to talk about biggest jumps in ADP. I think he could be well entrenched in as a wide receiver one this time next year if he comes on and has a 1,010 sort of season, which I think he's capable of. The other one is obviously you mentioned about opportunity and early the great unknown of Travis Hunter,
Mm.
but he could also his ADP is probably banked in a little bit that he's a star, but he's the other one that he's going to be the slot receiver for them is the talk out of camp. And if he's playing more than we think, and he's as talented as they say, there's another one that we're talking about. But it's the big unknown there.
Yeah, but it's probably an oversight on my part, but he's one of the biggest week one storylines. It's just watching what they do with him. How much
Mm.
defense does he play? How much offense does he play? How involved is he? Because he's got a lot of fantasy stock riding on it, really.
Yeah, I
As an ever.
can't believe we didn't have that as one of our what we're watching. We've been talking about it all off season, but you're spot on. How are they going to distribute the snap count there? I've also seen some posts of leagues that are sneakily changing some IDP, is it?
Yep.
Individual defensive players sort of um, scoring systems in their fantasy league. So they go and pick up Hunter and then sneakily go and add in interceptions and touchdowns for a defensive player.
Oh,
A little bit underhanded, if you ask me, but
yeah.
yeah, kind of a funny way to roast your league. My number two is it's a second year player, but he's really a rookie. JJ McCarthy, the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. So highly drafted rookie, had a lot on his shoulders after they got rid of Kirk, who had been there for many, many years and produced very well in the regular season, but hadn't got the job done in the playoffs, so they moved on from him. This guy, unfortunately, did his knee in the preseason, never played a regular season snap. Now, the reason why I think it's fascinating to see how he pans out, there's a lot riding on this guy's shoulders. He's coming off a knee injury, but he needs to hit the ground running because Sam Darnold came into this offense an absolute unknown in terms of what he would produce. A lot of people just wrote him off and thought what we saw out of him in Carolina, in the Jets, all of these places that he'd been to, he didn't have what it takes to make it in the NFL, and he went into the Kevin O'Connell offense and got the job done, all outside of the last game of the season and the first round of the playoffs. So, that being said, is that Kevin O'Connell can produce very, very good quarterbacks. If this guy with this roster doesn't produce early, I just wonder what the narrative is going to be. What are the fans going to say? If he stinks it up, how much of a leash is he going to have? Like you mentioned, for those other QBs, Hod, this guy's in his second year. Very different because I don't think anyone's expecting the bloke sitting behind him or anything to do it. He is the answer. And I think you're going to get a few frustrated and angry Vikings fans if he doesn't pan out to be that.
Well, you're a shame if we didn't talk about him because we did, well, lucky enough to join an Aussie football fantasy league, a creator league recently, and we're co-managing that team, and we stacked him with our last pick. And there's a good reason you mentioned that they might be a little upset with him if he gets off to a slow start. Well, he ain't getting off to a slow start because he's first at Chicago. Now that defense isn't as good as what it sounds over the years. They weren't. I think they were number 32 last year against quarterbacks. Then he gets Atlanta, who weren't much better. Then he gets Cincinnati, who we're all thinking will be one of the worst defenses in the league. So that could be a really hot start. Then he gets Pittsburgh, but then Cleveland. A bit of a better D, but not always for fantasy. So and then he gets the bye. So we're going to know 6 weeks in what we've got with him, and I think we feel that it's going to be off a pretty positive start to
Mm.
start this season.
Yeah, and I think the flip side to this take, Ben, is to see how Sam Darnold goes in Seattle. Does he
True.
revert back to what he was, which is quite frankly wasn't great before he got to Minnesota? So I'm interested in that piece as well. I think Kevin O'Connell saw enough of JJ McCarthy to let Darnold go.
Yeah,
I think that's the
that's the
positive in
most
all of
telling
this
for
is
sure.
that he's seen both of them. He's seen the strengths and weaknesses of both. He could have easily just said, JJ, you sit behind Darnold again. We'll pay Darnold, keep him in the building. we want to keep him. He knows everything about us, but they let him go for, I think it was 30 million a year, something around that mark, which isn't, it's not small, but it's not huge either for a starting QB. And they decided, no, we're going to back the rookie in. So I think they've seen enough.
I think it's a great point. We often talk about coach speak, but there is a lot of crap that is said in the NFL circles. Look at what they do, and I think that is telling that they let a veteran go after a 14-2 season that got him into the playoffs, well and truly into the playoffs for the rookie. I think they're pretty comfortable with what they've got, and for fantasy purposes, KOC, he produces top 11 quarterbacks, every one that he's had. So it's pretty promising for the young man. I hope it works out for the Vikings. But
Here's my quick question on you, though, without notice. If he does what all these other QBs have done for the Vikings, gets them through the regular season pretty handily, gets to the playoffs and doesn't get it done, is it just going to be Groundhog Day? They are 0-4 in Super Bowls. Their last appearance was 1977. They've had many successful seasons. They've got to be up there with one of the most winning franchises in regular season. They very rarely have bad seasons. Like, what is the leash on this guy? They'll maybe one season of no playoff wins, but that's going to be it.
if you've he is a rookie quarterback. We can't ignore that. If he took them to the Super Bowl, they
They'd
wouldn't
have a
care.
statue of him.
Absolutely. You're always looking for a young quarterback in this league that can take you anywhere. So if they're even getting to the playoffs, I think they'd be over the moon. Um, just to find, it's so hard to find quarterbacks. So,
Especially on
um,
his salary too.
yeah,
Yeah, very
100%.
true.
I'll change it up to running backs here, but depth charts are blasphemy, boys. We see it year after year after year, but let's just have indulge in this for a little bit because it's quite hilarious. Travion Henderson, who we all believe to be one of the better rookie running backs to come out, and then gets a situation where the offense is young and it's up and coming, and now they got McDaniels there. I think he's proven that he can produce running backs for fantasy. But the Patriots have named
Ramondre.
Ramondre
Monday
Stevenson
one.
and Antonio Gibson, two veterans, ahead of the young star that we believe. So that's the first one. The Commanders, Bill, the darling of the offseason. He's ADP 36 in Dynasty,
Oh,
just to throw that out there.
Jesus.
He's made it into RB3 territory off the back of a very limited college career, but it was more the training camp that they let Brian Robinson go. And then he gets named number 4 behind 3 veterans, including, is it McNichols?
yep.
Who has just
Rodriguez.
and just bounced around the league for years. So Denver, bit more talent in this one, but RJ Harvey, well, we love the talent of him and what he could be in a Sean Payton offense, but then is named third on the depth chart,
On the line.
behind a couple of veterans in Dobbins.
Yep.
And who's the other one?
Jaleel McLaughlin, but they cut Estime, so there's only got 3.
Yep, and then another highly touted running back for the Steelers. He's currently third, and they've just paid Jalen Warren.
Taylor
So
Johnson.
that's a bit of a kick in the guts for any dynasty owners. 2 more years of Jalen Warren. They love him. They love what he does. But then there's also Kenny Gainwell there from the Eagles. So we're not talking about huge stars in front of these rookies, but they're throwing him down the depth chart. I don't know if it's just make him earn it, but it's kind of to my point before. I think it's all just stupid coach speak, and pretty quickly into the season, we're going to see these rookies outshine their current depth chart order and get into the rotation pretty quickly and take over.
Well, I think it speaks to your point before, mate. Let's watch the actions, not the words or the theory. I think coaches just hate fantasy, so they just do it on purpose. I mean, if you listen to the Miami coach today about Ollie Gordon, you can tell
His
that they all know the beat reporters are asking for fantasy,
his
and they don't
quote
want to talk
was,
about it.
he might get 0 touches or he might get all the touches or somewhere in between. It's a fantastic quote.
It's a great
I-
response.
My takeaway with the running depth chart, we've all played footy, local footy. Some of us a little bit better than others. I'm not looking at anyone, Hod. You might take the cake on that out of the 3 of us. But how much does this scream of pre-season where the coaches want to set the tone? These are the values. These are the things that we live by in pre-season. So then they go and name their starting lineup in either the last pre-season game or the first round of the season. And there's blokes that get a Guernsey that don't belong on that team. And you know it's a week one, and then by week two, the actual team will be named. But this feels very much like, oh, well, I've set the tone here for culture. I have to live by it or else I'm going to contradict myself.
Yeah.
The talent will rise.
It will. It reminds me a bit of AFL teams that name players in back pockets that are going to play forward. I just think they just throw their names out there, and the real stuff. Once the real stuff starts, we'll see how they're valued. So that is an interesting watch, though, Hod. Very good point. My second one and the final one we'll discuss before week one, boys. We're not far away. I tell you, I think we're 12 hours away.
12 hours.
12 hours on the dot. So my one is Ben Johnson. And Ben, you spoke about it off air, and I thought it was a really good point around Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and their legacy going forward. And right now we sit here and go, well, Ben Johnson is going to be a massive loss for Detroit and a huge gain for Chicago. And I think that's a logical assumption to make. But I will say one thing: Caleb wasn't great last year, and so if Ben Johnson's got some chops as a coach, he's going to have to turn that around, and that's a big task to do. So there is a world where Ben Johnson doesn't look so great at the end of this year, and we go, and Detroit play really well, and we're like, hold on, is Ben Johnson really the reason why Detroit was good, or maybe it was just Dan Campbell after all?
Well, this is a really, really interesting one because you're right. Caleb definitely didn't live up to the expectation of the number one pick last year. But we know what Jared Goff was and a very effective quarterback in this offense, and that was more of a marshal around the field. Ben Johnson wants that three-step drop, fire into where the skill players and the players that shine should be, and let them do their work. Caleb's more of the Mahomes type. He thrives when things are off canter and then he has to run out, and that's where he has made a career. So this is going to get really interesting. If Ben Johnson gets frustrated with Caleb Johnson after year two and he has another disappointing year, Ben Johnson's not going anywhere. They have just overhauled this offense, and then we're 2 years into a career, and we've seen it. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but you see how quickly a top pick can fall at the quarterback position if it doesn't work with the offensive scheme. So this is a really interesting one. I think it will work, but nothing is cemented in the NFL, even at the number one pick.
It's a really good point, actually. I was listening to a podcast this week, actually, and they were talking about how meticulous Ben Johnson is. And as to your point, mate, he wants things played on time. He wants to know where everything is at any given time, and he doesn't want the broken plays and make it up plays. He wants to be on time. So it will be fascinating to see if that actually works with Caleb Williams.
And I think NFL coaches it has to be one of the hardest jobs in the world. These are egotistical maniacs with millions of dollars.
Yep.
And Caleb Williams has always been that superstar that has never been told he's wrong. His talent has always risen. And now he's got a coach that he has even said, Caleb Williams has come out and said, he is really hard on me and I like it. We don't know if he does, but that's what Ben Johnson's going to be. And it's a real fascinating story, and I really like that you brought it up.
Well, and they play each other. So JJ McCarthy and Caleb Williams play each other. I think, is it Monday night, or they play each other on a night game in Chicago? Can't wait for that game. That's going to be a great game to tune into. Speaking of great games, boys, we're here. We're 12 hours away from kickoff. I'm pretty excited, boys. I think we all are. I think we're all ready. We're 10 episodes in. We've said enough. It's time to start playing fantasy. I hope everyone has enough luck with their injuries. Make sure you set your alarms. Don't sleep in. Get up for 3 a.m. and enjoy the show.
Absolutely. It is time, boys. But we are going to, we're also going to see if any of our projections for the audience come to fruition. Maybe not after week one, but we get to start seeing some actual games that will tell us that. But we will keep a bit of a structure for you all now that we're into the season. Each week we'll review every game in detail, provide our fantasy takeaways, and then use them to preview the upcoming week in a similar style to what we've done tonight. We'll just have our main points and narratives. We won't deep dive into the previews. We'll do that in the reviews each week. But we will also continue to sprinkle in our favourite segments like the power rankings, mailbag, Double D, he'll be around, I-22, and a few new wrinkles that we will throw in from time to time. So looking forward to it and stay tuned.
Well said. And if you have anything to share, be it Double D with some mailbag related questions or feedback on power rankings, on our predictions, any of the like, maybe you might want to jump in and tell us what you're predicting on the season as well. Reach out, fantaussiefootball@gmail.com. That's FANTAUSSIE football@gmail.com. It's the same deal for YouTube and Instagram, Fan Aussie Football. Subscribe, leave a comment, all the things. We love the feedback that we're hearing from people, so keep it up. And my voice held up just to the very end, boys. Bring on week 1.
Get a strepsil.